Russell Westbrook has been dispatched from Houston. He had a one-season run with Harden, and he is on his way to the capital of the United States, Washington, D.C. In return, the Wizards have sent the disgruntled guard John Wall. He goes outbound of Washington, inbound to the Rockets, along with a protected first-round pick. Whoop-de-damn-do. So let us discuss the question, how do you grade the Rockets-Wizards trade? How do you grade John Wall for Russell Westbrook? So I've got my report card here, and I wrote right next to the Washington Wizards, I wrote a B. I give them a B, and the Rockets get, I'm going to be fair here with the Rockets, they get an F is what they get. They get an F. Okay, so I've got Kryptonite, 700 Club, and Cooties. And we will lock all of these things together. Now, number one. All right, so this trade is, hey, you take my garbage, I want your garbage. That's what I want. It's an exchange of headaches, if anything, right? So let me send you my migraine headache. I would like your sinus headache instead. Okay. All you have to do is fill out the paperwork, and the trade is good. Just make sure you do not, whatever you do not read the fine print. Now, we are not particularly fond of Russell Westbrook's style of play. We've made that very clear over the years. Russell is always good for this show in the playoffs because he looks like Adonis and plays like a pencil in big moments in the postseason. He's done it his entire career. I don't think that's going to change at this particular point, but it's the way that he performs. And so we have chronicled all of those shortcomings of Russell Westbrook, and these are obstacles that you have to overcome. Now, for context, despite the inflated assist totals, oh my God, he led the NBA and he had a triple-double the whole year and all. Despite that, for context, Russell Westbrook is a tremendous ball hog at the end of the game. Now, saying somebody in the NBA is a ball hog who's a star player does not rise to the level of newsworthy, but that for him is kryptonite at the end of games. It is a pre-existing condition that Russ takes with him to Washington. He can get you too close to the finish line. It's like running the New York Marathon, and back when we used to run the New York Marathon, and you get to like the 25-mile marker, right? Marathon's 26.2. You get to the 25-mile marker, and then you got a cramp, right? And then you got to take a dump. And I mean, so it affects the outcome of the race. And for him, we saw this against the Lakers in the playoffs last year. He's a terrible outside shooter, Russell Westbrook, and the Lakers left him wide open. And how many times was he easily baited into attempting to shoot the ball, thinking he was all of a sudden a sniper, like he was Larry Bird or Steph Curry from the outside, not exactly a Navy SEAL as far as targeting shots, and more of a Freemason, like a bricklayer, one of those people. Nevertheless, all right, all things being equal, we are fair and we are here. I don't know what else to say. But all things being equal, head-to-head between John Wall and Russell Westbrook, as much as I just gave you a condemnation of Russell Westbrook, I would rather have him, right? I'd rather have him. So Washington gets a B because he's better than the other guy. But let's not get carried away. I can't go an A because I would be crazy to say an A. I'm going B because of that end-of-game stuff. And Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal as a 1-2 punch. Bam, bam, just like that. 1-2. 1-2 punch. They should have the Wizards in the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. Because in the regular season, it works for Russell Westbrook. He had a band of misfits in Oklahoma City around him, and they were able to get to the playoffs. It's the playoffs that are the problem. So I would imagine Bradley Beal, who, if he plays defense today, it'll be the first time he's played defense, and Russell Westbrook side by side. And Westbrook's also got a guy ready to give him a shoulder massage in Scott Brooks, who was his coach in Oklahoma City, a big advocate, a big cheerleader for Russell Westbrook, who's now the coach of the Wizards. All right, second thing here. So the Rockets side of this trade, they managed to turn a bad hand in poker into a legendary loss, right? This was a poor situation. I admit the cards they were dealt were not good. All right, one bad trade led to another bad trade. Then the guy that made the original bad trade, he skedaddled off to eat a cheesesteak, and you were left holding the bag. But this is actually worse. And so I give the Rockets an F because it takes a special skill what this new Rockets GM, this nobody who took over as the GM of the Rockets, has done. Russell Westbrook was a weird science experiment in Frankenstein's lab by the old GM. It didn't work out. Very few people thought it would actually work out. And now Houston has gone to the snack bar and they've ordered a big bag of popcorn. Popcorn problems, right? Because they have now multiple issues popping up all over. John Wall wore out his welcome with the Wizards. He's actually a very similar player to, offensively, he's a similar player to Russell Westbrook. He's a ball hog. He's not very efficient. They're very similar in that respect. And there has been this confluence of issues with John Wall, flashing the gang signs that went viral on social media. The team was all offended. That, I think, is a bullcrap story because John Wall's flashed gang signs before. When he's good, they don't mind it. When he's hobbling around, they have a problem. And then you look at the medical chart for John Wall, and that is about as enjoyable as a nice case of chicken pox when you're a kid. All right, it's a nice itchy rash with those small little blisters filled with fluid all over your body. And I'm not kidding. John Wall has not played in a professional basketball game since December 26th of 2018. He has been out with a cadre of issues, but mainly the ruptured left Achilles tendon. He is a member, John Wall, of a very coveted club. He is a member of the 700 Club. The last time he played a game was 708 days ago in the NBA. Ruptured Achilles, the worst injury a ball player can have. We'll see if Kevin Durant can come back. I'm not betting on Durant being very good, and certainly a shadow of what he had been when he starts playing for Brooklyn. It is the strongest tendon, the biggest tendon in your body is the Achilles. And here's the thing, like when you talk about a basketball player, I would say even more basketball and football. We've seen some football guys come back a little bit, but the Achilles, that's what enables you to flex your foot. Like if you move your foot, it's because of the Achilles tendon. If you want to jump, you can thank your Achilles. If you want to run, say a shout out to your Achilles. And so pretty much anything that you need to use your feet with, that's what matters. And that's, by the way, that's Medicine Man Maller giving you some medical advice. Besides that, John Wall's also had arthroscopic surgery on his left knee. He's had a quad injury, tendonitis in his right knee. He's essentially got the knees of an 80-year-old. An 80-year-old who worked hard labor, right, as a career. And it is impossible. I don't think I'm being out of bounds here. It is impossible to dominate when he's never going to be the same, jumping and running and all that. And I remember how pathetic it was trying to watch Kobe the last couple of years of his career when he had the Achilles and he came back and he was not any good. And now the draft fanatics. So the Rockets got a first-round pick. Whoop-de-damn-do. Right? Whoop-de-damn. That doesn't move the needle. They're going to get a first-round pick. It's protected for the lottery, so it's going to be somewhere in the middle of the first round. You're not going to get a difference maker. It's a lottery ticket, but it's not even a top lottery. Like the lottery is the top few picks in the draft. Really, the top 3 picks usually are pretty good. After that, it's a dime a dozen, and the further back you go, you get just the store brand college player who maybe will make it and probably won't. All right, final point. Like everything else in the sporting world, this story is on warp speed because there is this great debate going on now in the overnight, and it's going to spill into the next day or so, is what happens with James Harden. Before we get to that, it is worth noting that James Harden has now officially chased away Dwight Howard, Chris Paul, and Russell Westbrook. That is 3 Hall of Fame players that he had as teammates. And those guys are all going to be in the Hall of Fame because it's basketball. Muffet McGraw's in the Hall of Fame. They'll get in the Hall of Fame. Dwight Howard, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook are going to end up in Springfield, Massachusetts. And Harden Like, he owns the modern day record. He's got to own the record. I was trying to think, and granted, I'm not that good at it, but I was trying to think, like, who has run through more star teammates that have left disgruntled than James Harden? And it's not just a basketball story. This typically is a basketball story, but I can't think of anyone else that because of them, these other players are like, I got to get out of here. It's like he's got these cooties with the other players there. They want nothing to do with him. The record for bad teammate in the modern era, and he apparently rubs people the wrong way, and it's not just on the court. It has to be other stuff also. It's a ball-dominant player, but that is failure theater for the Rockets. To trade or not to trade is the question now, and the beard supposedly worked out with John Wall. Some pickup games in Miami over the last couple of months. Congratulations. Mazel tov. I'm sure that matters. The only thing slowing a James Harden trade, the only thing slowing a James Harden trade is the fact it's complicated because of his contract and because what you have to get in return. And when he last dabbled, when we last dabbled on this show, we last messed around with witchcraft on James Harden, like trading James Harden. I believe we set the odds at like 40%, if I remember correctly. It was a while ago. So now that Russell Westbrook has been traded, obviously the variables have changed here. So I would like to adjust the James Harden trade speculation. So the Harden trades odds now, the Maller Sportsbook Harden trade odds have gone from plus 150, which was a 40% chance that he's traded, to now minus 160. Now that implies a 60% chance that Harden is on a one-way ticket out of Houston, Texas. You'll go somewhere else. And I saw that Golden State was mentioned this week. Brooklyn's still sniffing around. They're interested. I'm sure there'll always be the mystery team. I can't wait for the mystery team to enter the James Harden biddy. But Harden's going to call the shot here. Like, you got to think Harden, even though he doesn't have a no-trade clause, he's going to be the one that decides and dictates where he goes. Otherwise, if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves, why don't you trade for James Harden? Why not?